Well, to answer their question, we're certainly going to see their face again. We're going to see it right now. Would you please welcome the songwriting core of the Mighty Angels, Doc Neeson, John Brewster and Rick Brewster.
Thank you very much. We hope we pass the audition. Folks, it's a great honor to be up here, being honored as songwriters, Brewster, Neeson, Brewster. And I'm going to change this microphone because it's going to break my neck if I have to keep looking down. So many short people. It's fantastic to hold this. The Angels have been inducted into the Australian Music Hall of Fame. But to me, and I think perhaps to John and Rick also, maybe this means more. And it's not really fair to compare one with the other. But we began this band not as a band. We weren't in it for sex and drugs and rock and roll. The real story is we were a jug band, and we decided that we wanted to write songs. I know personally I had a vision of the New York American Brill building, and where, Jerry Goffin and Carole King and just so many people were employed daily to write songs, some of which have just become classics. And I thought that we, the three of us, could do the same. Unfortunately, Australia wasn't ready for us. Australia wasn't ready for original material, or hardly any. Radio was playing covers music, and so we realized that the only way to get our songs out to the public was actually to form a band and get out and play the songs that we were writing. That actually turned out to be a long process because we had to really put ourselves through an apprenticeship of learning how to play electric guitar. And that time was taken up under the cover of the name the Keystone Angels. We dropped the name Keystone after we released through Albert's our first single, Am I Ever Going to See Your Face Again? But we began as a songwriting team, Brewster, Neeson, Brewster. And tonight we're going to do a short selection of those songs. And thank you. We educated radio to the fact that there was an Australian audience out there ready to listen to original Australian songs. And that's massive, folks. If you think about the time of the 70s, where most Australian hits were covers, to today, when so many Australian artists are now in the top 10, one of the main reasons for that, and I'm really proud to say it, was Brewster, Neeson, Brewster. it's not putting too much praise on ourselves to say that we broke some ice in the Australian music scene. And as I said, we'd like to do a short selection of some of our songs now. And I want to tell you that the great thing about being in the Neeson Brewster team was that it didn't matter who started the song. Somebody would get a riff, and maybe I'd have a lyric. And we would just go to each other's houses. It was all very low key. There were no Pro Tools. You know, it wasn't a case of like doing a recording and the performer says to the engineer, "How were you?" And the engineer says, "Who's got Pro Tools?" The engineer says, "You a shithouse. Come inside and we'll fix it." We had to write good songs, and our songwriting process was sharing, and it meant a really wonderful place of not having to bring your ego into the songwriting room. Sure, there were arguments about what somebody thought was the better way of doing a song, but those were creative arguments. They weren't arguments of ego, and that's how we forged these songs. So we're going to do a few songs now. We're going to do them in an order which represents who was the main inspiration for the song, because as I said, somebody would come in with an idea, the rest of us would join in, and that's how the songs came about. I'm hopeful by this time in our careers you'll recognize the songs, but keep in mind that as the songs come out in their order, the order represents who came in with that idea that day and how then it developed. And that was one of the mighty things about being in a songwriting team, which so much helped develop Australian original music and how we wrote our songs together, and we were able to share them with you. And we hope that you can see the process of the songwriting, how somebody did come in with an idea, how the band, how the other two of us built those ideas up. And finally, the song emerges almost unique within itself, but still very much carrying the stamp of the Angels. So we hope you like what we have for you. And thank you all, from John and Rick and myself, and FIFA, who did so much in those early days to get the songs through. We thank you all. We love you all too, because without your support, this wouldn't happen. But what we're showing here is America. We have as much as America has, with a much smaller population. Australia can do it. Australia is doing it, and we've been a small part of it. It's been very important to our lives as musicians, and thank you all for your support tonight. Thank you. And thank you to Glenn for your erudite words. Okay, now we've got to take a few moments just to do the bloody photographs now.